Why is the US South especially patriarchal when compared to the rest of the country? Why are people more likely to endorse patriarchal ideals? Why are business and political institutions overrepresented by men? And why do women have so few legal rights and entitlements, not least abortion? The answer, I believe, is slavery. So white supremacy was historically entrenched by racist institutions, but legitimized by churches and then violently enforced by white men. So generations of those white men grew up learning that they are entitled to dominance, ordained to hegemony, and can enforce that through violence with impunity. Now, during slavery, white racial purity was key. If white women had black babies, that would undermine the moral distinctions that underpinned slavery. So white women were policed, churches and kept close to home if at all affordable, and churches praised virginity. Now, of course, white men raped black women with impunity, and they could get away with it. Now, fast forward to Reconstruction and newfound black freedoms, this triggers total paranoia and hysteria, especially around rape. And this is all manufactured and inflamed by white media. So then white men organize across classes and forge solidarity to hunt down, violently track, and coercively beat and then hang black men. All of this is encouraged by terrified white women. White women write in their diaries how terrified they are, and they're encouraging white male violence. So they're looking to men as for protectors, and this is emboldening and normalizing the idea of violent white men enforcing their supremacy. So guns were stockpiled and towns become much more racially segregated. Any challenge to white supremacy is violently repressed. Now, fast forward to the 1970s, feminism was never going to flourish in the South, in a land where Christian nationalists feel entitled to dominance, are especially religious, feel entitled to use force and coercive violence, and endorse much more patriarchal ideals. Feminism was never going to flourish. In fact, women who were more subversive or defiant or independent actually had very unhappy marriages. And so what many Southern women, increasingly in the 1970s, realized that it was advantageous is to please and pamper their husbands. That's the argument of an absolutely best-selling book called Total Woman by Maribel Morgan, 1973, sold millions of copies, by encouraging women to please their husbands. You know, your husband will love it too, she writes, and he will love you more for wanting to please him. So by adapting to these patriarchs' needs, many Southern women realized that they could have happier, more peaceful marriages. And so we see across, over the 1970s, there are a number of women's movements to champion the traditional family, because that gains credence in a land of white patriarchal supremacy. So the other one would be Shafley's movement again for Stop ERA, Stop the Equal Rights Movement, to champion the traditional family. So the South thus diverged from the Northeast and the West Coast, which were originally no less patriarchal. So back in the 17th century, the Northeast was incredibly patriarchal. But then what happened is women increasingly organized, as was enabled by urbanization, job creating economic growth. You know, the abolition inspired suffrage, and it encouraged relentless activism, because women gained hope that tremendous radical change was possible. And generations of women in New York and Boston, in California, mobilized for their freedoms and entitlements, especially through going to university, especially as they get jobs. So generations of women have mobilized for their freedoms in the Northeast and secured entitlements. But that was never going to happen in the South, where violent white men expect dominance. And then women try to make do as best they can by championing the traditional family. Thank you.